Hello and welcome to another episode of Sci-Fi-Night Tipsy Talk. We're continuing reviewing X-Files Season 11. We're up to the final episode, Episode 10, My Struggle Part 4. Joined once again by, well, if you watch this show and you don't know him already, you're not watching this show enough. As always, Joseph Ari joining us for his X-Files review. How are you doing, buddy?
That was probably the best introduction ever. Thanks for having me on the show again.
Yeah, well, our pleasure. And honestly, it is a good point. Like, if anyone actually has been following Sci-Fi-Night like the past year, it'd be pretty weird if you didn't know you about it at this point. So,
Always a blast being on your channel.
I don't know about you, but considering this is the last X-Files episode, I'm celebrating with 7.5% beer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called Swedish Elk Brew.
Swedish elk brew.
No, brew.
Brew, okay. That sounds interesting. Well, I'm just celebrating with a good glass of wine. That's basically it. And I have something to celebrate because I'm going to be honest right off the bat.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's finally over.
Yeah, that was an anticlimactic end. I'll tell you that. It was. We'll just run it over real quick.
Yeah, first of all, as always, this Tipsy Talk will contain spoilers.
Spoilers for everything you've ever wondered about.
Yeah, you've been warned. We're going to go really into detail on this one. So, yeah, you've been warned.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch or listen. This is officially on you.
Exactly. So anyway, it starts off with a classic Chris Carter voiceover, this time done by William, which was at the very least interesting, like to sort of get his, it was so retconned, the whole thing about his childhood and stuff like that. It was so added, where they retconned something from the past. I still thought it was kind of interesting having him be there because it felt like, and I'll get to a trivia thing later on as to why it felt kind of cyclical.
Okay.
But I'll get to that later on. But basically him just detailing his life, talking about how he discovered these powers and like now people are after him, and summing up the events of episode 5, Ghoulie. And then it's basically just Mulder's quest for William, Mulder killing a whole lot of people.
Yeah, since when did Mulder become Keanu Reeves from The Matrix? Like, really? Was that ever a thing until the revival?
Well, I mean, they definitely felt like turning him into John Wick because he was straight up murking people. I mean, I think there's at least like 6 or 7 people he killed. That's usually like the body count of an entire episode at tops, but like he pulled that one off all by himself.
Yeah, he had super enhanced reflexes as well. That was like a Neo moment.
Oh yeah, when he's in that hangar and he gets the gun off a guy and then like kills all the other ones, I'm like,
Exactly, and also the one where he approaches the guy that I'm just gonna call not the cigarette smoking man.
yeah, the poor man, cigarette smoking man.
Exactly, that scene. I mean, look, it all looks cool, but I don't think it fits the character.
Yeah, I mean, to play devil's advocate, you could say that it's a personal thing, like, to be as cliche as possible. This time it's personal. But, it is. He's going after his son. He's tired. He's, like, fed up. So to play devil's advocate, I could buy that he was a little bit more hardcore than usual.
No, I don't have a problem with Mulder killing people, not at all. But where did he learn all those moves and fighting skills and blah, blah? I mean, he looked like an action hero in this one. Again, I mean, this is something I think that the revival started. All right?
Well, I mean, I think that in both seasons 10 and 11, they did beef up his fighting skills quite a bit. Like, I think My Struggle Part 2 actually had a pretty solid fight scene between him and some random goon. I guess they're trying to, like, make it up to Mulder after having him, like, basically get his ass kicked for 7 years. Because he was always getting his ass kicked in the old, original series run.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of the charm. He was kind of the Indiana Jones-like character in that aspect. Not a great fighter. He always made it through a fight. Barely, barely alive. But that's kind of the charm of the character of Fox Mulder, in my humble opinion. So
Yeah,
I don't.
I think so too. I mean, he was more of a book smart kind of guy. He wasn't really a street smart kind of guy. He was like, I listened to I listened to the X Files podcast on Spotify with Kumail Nanjiani, who's in Silicon Valley, and we mentioned how Mulder's basically like a handsome version of the guys from The Lone Gunman. It's like he's just a few steps away, like more conformist than them. He's just like he's got his shit together more than they do. He cares a little bit more, but he's not that far away from being them, which I think is a pretty solid point.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. He's a nerd.
Oh yeah, hardcore nerd. I mean, just the way that he like corrects people's pronunciations and stuff like that, and like, well, Scully, actually, in 1809, it's like, oh, he's a super nerd.
Yeah. So it does feel kind of weird. But let's get to the overall plot synopsis, because this is, as you mentioned before, this is part 4 of the My Struggle series that started with the very first episode of the revival. Mm-hmm. We've had one basically starring Mulder. The entire episode was from his perspective. Then we've had one with Scully. Then we've had one with a cigarette-smoking man, and this time it focuses on William, a.k.a. what was his other name? I don't know.
Oh,
Jackson?
Something hipstery. He had a last name as a first name. Jackson Vanderkamp.
I think it was Jackson. I mean, correct us if we're wrong.
No, I definitely know. It was Jackson Vanderkamp.
Well, see, look at this. I got something right. Woo!
Yeah.
And personally, I hated all the My Struggle episodes because they fucked too much with the mythology. And I believe that this episode is sadly no exception.
Yeah, I mean, just the way they ended it did a lot of stuff wrong. I mean, I will say that it's definitely one of the better My Struggle episodes.
Yeah, okay, but come on. It's
but
like
yeah, that's setting the bar low.
The one time I had diarrhea, wow, thank God there wasn't blood in it.
Yeah. Exactly. It was kind of like, it was kind of a confusing episode because it's like all these pieces that they like introduced early on with the not cigarette smoking man. His name is actually Mr. Y. He ends up being completely useless for the entire mythology. He's just a guy who gives exposition and then gets killed.
But that is basically all of My Struggle episodes summed up. Not only are they extremely exposition heavy, but they kind of undo everything that the original 9 years of X-Files build up. What happened to the alien invasion? Well, it doesn't matter anymore. What happened to the Syndicate? Well, it doesn't matter anymore. And now we're just focusing on that child that apparently isn't even Mulder's and Scully's child. He was an experiment, and the cigarette-smoking man is actually the father. And come on, just stop. I mean, still, every time I see the cigarette-smoking man on screen, I'm like, how are you alive? Like, It still bothers me. It still bothers me to this day. Like, how are you alive? And speaking of character deaths, this episode
killed everyone.
Just killed off first Monica Reyes, just like that. I was like, wow. She's dead now, okay.
Which also made her character a little bit pointless because she didn't really do a whole lot except like secretly give Scully a little bit of info or something.
She did nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like I was looking forward to see. That was actually one of the few things I liked about My Story or My Struggle story arc was that like they changed her to a villain. I was like, okay, well that's an interesting character turn. I was actually interested in seeing where that was gonna go, and it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, but here's also the thing. I don't have a problem with turning good guys into villains, but they never really bothered to give us a plausible explanation for that. Yeah. It was basically the cigarette-smoking man was like, do as I say, or else. I was like, or what?
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, sure, I'm down. Like, I'm so scared. I was like, okay, and where's Doggett, by the way? Can you please mention him at least? Like, what the fuck's
I
happening?
know, right? That would have been so good for Daga to come back and see Monica switch sides, and then it's like,
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But I feel like this is why by now I'm at a phase where I view season 10 and season 11 of the X-Files as their own thing, very loosely connected to the original show, and more like bad fan fiction, even though
Chris Carter fan fiction.
exactly, because it doesn't make sense to me. It ignores too many plot points from the original
Yeah.
series, which brings me to even though I hated it again. The one silver lining I saw in that episode is that Skinner actually gets kind of a heroic death.
Yeah, silver lining, but at the same time, it was one of those like Prometheus run to the fucking side kind of things.
Exactly. It was stupid as fuck, poorly executed, and look, there was no gravitas, neither to his death nor to Reyes' death, and I was like, I should feel something now.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like, oh, she's dead now, and it's like, oh, Skinner's dead. I mean, that said, I don't think that like if they do decide to do something else with the X-Files, Chris Carter has been loosely talking about maybe a season 12. I don't think that Skinner is completely dead because
But Gillian Anderson is out.
what?
Gillian Anderson is out.
Yeah, I know she is out, but I mean, yeah, I read this article where Chris Carter said that there's still life left, and he would still be interested in doing something else even without Gillian Anderson, kind of like how they did without David Duchovny for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So if they do decide to do that, I bet you it's gonna turn out that Skinner wasn't killed, because usually when it comes to the X-Files, if they don't show your death, like if you don't actually see them die, in general, they're probably still alive. Even sometimes when you do see them die, like with the cigarette smoking man, even sometimes that's not enough.
And what else? Then we get to the point, the big confrontation between Mulder and cigarette smoking man. Shoots him in the head. Turns out it's not actually Mulder, it's William.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get another death scene. The cigarette smoking man dies for the second time on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Still not convinced he's dead yet, but okay. He shot him like, 74 times?
Something like that. It was like the world's biggest pistol clip.
Exactly, and he then kicked him into the water. And then, in my opinion, comes the most cheap and Deus Ex Machina moment of the entire episode. Scully is just okay with having lost her son after whining about him for the past 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. She's just okay with it now. I don't get that. And she tells Mulder, look, there's no need to be sad because guess what? I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if you lose a kid as long as you got another one in the oven. Like, okay.
It did feel real cheap. I mean, it did feel like a cop-out. Like, I mean, we're both shippers. We ship them hard. We want them to be together, but it's like, you can't just throw that out there. I mean, it's like, okay, I get it. They have left clues in the seasons that they have been sleeping together. I think it was episode 3 with the twins where they're like sharing a hotel room. So yeah. Like, okay, I get it. They probably got it on a couple times. I got it. But it's like, you can't just drop it out there like 10 seconds before the last episode ends.
Yeah, and which brings us back to William, who is apparently still alive, but now he's got a sweet hole in his forehead.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the alien-human hybrids from the previous seasons could not really be killed by bullets. You had to have a special weapon to kill them, so I'm assuming that's the story there as well, which really Mulder and Scully should know about, because they've shot alien-human, or been in the vicinity of alien-human hybrids that have been shot, and all they do is release this noxious gas. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for them to just accept that he's dead when they know that he is some kind of like that he's got alien DNA.
I think what pisses me off most about this episode is not only do all these My Struggle episodes ignore the original run of the show and the mythology, like with the aliens, for example? Remember when My Struggle Part 1 started, they basically tried to convince the audience that aliens were never a threat.
Yeah.
It was actually fascists pretending to be aliens. I'm like, bullshit. We saw the aliens. Like, we saw it. We saw them probing on Mulder and all that kind of stuff.
We saw the alien rebels fucking like kill the syndicate in I think it was season 5 or 6.
Yeah, exactly. We saw good and bad aliens and the civil war between them. So no, it's not working. You can't just rewrite something like that. It doesn't make sense. And what I hate most about this episode, My Struggle Part 4, not only does it take a shit on season 1 through 9, but it also ignores stuff that was set up in My Struggle Part 1 to 3, because they were talking about colonizing space. They were talking about this alien virus and blah, blah, blah. Nothing happened. Nothing. No resolution whatsoever.
Yeah, I know, right? What happened to that woman, the female syndicate woman? I can't even remember.
Yeah, it was
She
fun.
got shot in the head, too.
It was fun that they all exploded.
Oh, yeah, okay. That was actually a really cool scene. That's right. Where William just fucking ghosted everyone. To be fair, I really liked that scene. It was a crazy visual, and even though we didn't really get to know her, it was cool seeing that evil syndicate woman just get fucking blown up.
That was fun.
One thing that I didn't understand at all, really, was I think it was probably the most interesting shot of the entire episode when the evil syndicate woman, she's walking up to that car that's just filled with blood from the inside. And it's like, they never really explain what that was.
No, I mean, and they even brought back everyone's favorite character, Joel McHale from Community. Why is he back? No one liked that character.
I gotta say something about the writing there. Like one thing, in my notes, one of the things that I wrote was direction plus writing minus, because there's this point where Scully is telling Joel McHale, well, he's supposed to be this sort of Bill O'Reilly style conspiracy.
I think even more Alex Jones-ish.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, more Alex Jones actually, because he just screams a lot. But where she's telling him like, there's this alien virus that's gonna be unleashed. It's gonna kill most of the population. Blah blah blah. And he's like, did you say unleashed? I was like, wait, that's the word you're getting hung up on? Not like alien virus, not kill population. Unleashed is what you're getting hung up on.
Yeah. And
terrible writing, fucking terrible.
Yeah, and he didn't experience it. They pretend as if he knew about all this, but he didn't, because only Scully experienced it in her dream sequence, which was the big cop out at the during the first episode of this season. That basically told us that season finale, that last season's finale, was just a dream sequence.
Yeah, or her vision of like what the future would be,
or possible
whatever.
Future like scenario, and it didn't make. Again, I mean, in conclusion, I gotta say I hated this episode. It is probably my least favorite episode of this season.
Okay, I didn't hate it that much. Like, there was a lot of stuff that I didn't like, but I did like a lot of the visuals. I thought it was directed just fine. Had some nice shots and okay action sequences, which is honestly more than we could say for the RM blah, blah, blah episode.
Oh yeah, right. Okay. Correct me again. Scratch what I just said. That RX blah, blah, blah episode is not only the worst episode of the season, but it might just be the most horrible X-Files episode ever made.
Honestly, yeah. Like, I'm thinking of all the worst episodes. Like, that RM blah episode, it makes an episode that I used to hate a lot, like with a passion, called First Person Shooter, which is about this evil video game, or it's like a video game where one of the characters kills people in real life. It's like this virtual reality thing, and it's so stupid and like overly sexist and like just a really dumb version of like spooky technology. But oh my god, that episode looks so good compared to like a fucking...
Isn't that the one with Krista Allen?
No, that's Fight Club.
Oh, she's
where
so
she
hot.
plays. She's got two
Also,
roles. She plays a set of twins. That one's also pretty bad.
yeah.
Pretty bad.
But I just have a crush on her, and she's so hot. And if you're listening, hey,
Oh no, sorry. I was thinking Krista Allen. I'm thinking Karen Griffith was the one I was thinking of because once he said crush, I'm like, wait, that's not the one I'm thinking of. No, sorry.
no.
Yeah, that's right. Krista Allen. Yeah, that's right. That is first person shooter. And then
Oh
Kathy
my.
Griffith plays two roles in Fight Club, which is also pretty. I think my number one worst episode so far that I had previously to this season was episode one, or from season one called Space, where like the Mars face, about face on Mars, starts possessing astronauts or something like that. It's really stupid. But
Yeah.
RM blah blah blah, like I have no desire to ever watch it again.
No, but I have no desire to ever watch the revival again. To be honest, to me, I'm okay with the series finale that unfolded in season 9. I didn't care too much about the second X Files feature film. I thought it was pretty bad, and I don't care too much about the revival, to be honest, because it really went downhill for me. So I'm happy that we have 9 seasons of the X Files of the original show,
Hmm.
and I just realized that I have to separate the revival from the original run because it's just too different and too weird, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a shame that we didn't do just 2 seasons of Fun Monster of the Weeks along the styles of
Yeah.
Familiar or Home Again, the Trash Man episode. If they would have just done a bunch of that. Actually, I
Yeah.
mean, I enjoyed episode 9, Nothing Lasts Forever. Like,
That was last week's episode?
yeah,
I didn't
check it
see
out.
it.
Like, I gave it a 3 out of 5. It had maybe perhaps a bit too much going on, but it was probably the grossest episode of the entire revival in terms of gore and stuff like that. And it's like I was expecting a certain thing. It ended up giving something very differently, and I was like actually really uncertain of what was actually going on for some of the time. So I would recommend checking that one out too. Actually,
Okay. Yeah, well, I probably will. I mean, I've seen all the other episodes, so might as well.
yeah, it's definitely among the better of season 11.
Yeah, so far the only one I really genuinely adored this season was the one we spoke about last time I was on your show.
Yeah,
The one with
familiar.
Mr. Chuckletooth.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone's gonna call the Mr. Chuckle Teeth episode, and everyone's gonna call Home Again the Trash Man episode, which is what you want from an X Files episode. I mean, it's like most people, like if you remember that Fluke Man episode, that weird mutant worm thing. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, the Fluke Man episode." They don't say, "Oh, the host,"
Yeah.
because the monster, the story stuck out so much in the same way that the Trash Man and Mr. Chuckle Teeth did. And that's what you want from the X Files. You want like, oh, that episode with the. Here it's like no one. If you like, imagine if you were to try to sum up one of the My Struggle episodes, like, oh, that episode where everyone gets killed.
That episode where everything is just flat out stupid. You, you know that one episode where nothing makes sense?
Yeah. So, oh yeah, to backtrack a little bit, I mentioned before something about. So I was reading about this episode afterwards, and I read a quote from Chris Carter, who said that basically the My Struggle episodes were supposed to be like 4 quarters of a whole.
Yeah.
And it's just like you said, like each episode focused on one of them, Mulder, Scully, Cigarette Smoking Man, and then William, that was all supposed to become, and he said because those were all the central players of the mythology. And that it was all supposed to be like basically one connected story, something like that, but it's like, but it didn't work.
Not at all. It didn't work at all. It would have worked if My Struggle Part 2 hadn't been a vision, a dream sequence.
Yeah.
My Struggle Part 2 was bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't amount to anything. It was all. I mean, it was the cheesiest. It was all a dream kind of twist.
Exactly. And we still don't know what's going to happen. We still don't know if aliens are going to attack. We still don't know if people are going to get attack. Um,
Yeah,
we're
like
getting
now that the cigarette smoking man is dead, does that mean that the virus is not getting unleashed? Like they weren't clear about that.
Yeah, apparently he wanted to prevent it, but at the same time, there there were either still evil aliens out there or evil people disguised as evil aliens.
It was like
But
Mr. Y, the fake cigarette smoking man, was like,
exactly,
was he the one trying to unleash the virus?
nobody knows,
Yeah,
and
all
we'll
right.
never
It
know.
shouldn't be this confusing.
Yeah, I mean, again, they just look. I think they didn't even know how to approach this. They were like, okay, we're gonna bring back the X Files, and season 9 ended on a cliffhanger. You know, we were talking about the inevitable invasion of planet Earth, and revival takes place. The first season of the revival takes place in 2016, which is 4 years after the proposed invasion. So what we're gonna do now is ignore everything and come up with new nonsense.
Yeah.
And then, by the time we get to My Struggle Part 4, people will be so disconnected that they won't care that we change the rules again.
Yeah, right.
This is basically what it feels like.
And one thing that like I thought was just again pointless was that they brought back Kirsch, Deputy Director Kirsch, just to shut down the X Files again because that's happened already like 100 times, and it's like it's not a twist anymore. When you've done it, like they do it at the end of season one, it's a big cliffhanger, and then it meant something because it was the first season. Oh, the X Files are getting shut down. That was before the internet. Like people were like, oh shit, does this mean the show was over?
Yeah.
Great twist.
Yeah.
Then we do it again. I think in season 4 or 5, and then again in season 6. Yeah, it's
You know what?
in
You know what it
season 6, yeah.
reminded me of? I used to be, when I was younger, I used to be a huge fan of Dragon Ball
Oh yeah.
and Dragon Ball Z. And when I watched the original Dragon Ball show, the one where Goku is still young, the first time they kill off a major character like Krillin, you really feel the impact. You're like, oh my god, a major character just died. And then by the end, they bring him back with a Dragon Ball, so it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Then on Dragon Ball Z, it doesn't matter. Every time someone dies, you're like, yeah, you're gonna come back. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
That's exactly been my problem with Dragon Ball because I actually lived in the United States when I started watching it. So I used to watch it on Cartoon Network, and it was always the same thing. Was okay, bring this new bad guy who's even more tough than the previous bad guy, and
Exactly.
he's even a bigger threat to Earth. And okay, he kills somebody. But then it was the same thing again. Okay, we do some quest or whatever. We get a Dragon Ball. We bring back Piccolo or whoever it is
Yeah.
this time, and then we
This is the
defeat the
problem.
baddie. And then there's a new bad guy. And yeah,
This is the problem. My buddy summed it up perfectly. He said, when they started killing characters on that show, they didn't kill characters, they killed death.
yeah, that's actually a really good point.
Because death didn't matter anymore. And the same goes for the X-Files. After closing them and reopening them again, who gives a shit?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you've already done it like 3 times, it doesn't matter, and especially when it's the last episode, and it's like we're not even sure if we're getting. I mean, I just, it truly is a shame that, like, the guy who wrote Familiar didn't write the entire revival. Because that would have been so much better.
Yeah, and I
Just
also
a
think
bunch of
it's-
classic X-Files like episodes. Just gives us a bunch of classic Monster of the Week stuff. The story stuff is just getting too convoluted. Let's just
Yep.
start it off. Like my idea was, okay, start it off with some kind of real crazy event. Like still a standalone thing, but like some kind of like event that's pretty big. I mean, you had this event sort of like recurring perhaps once or twice more in the season to be sort of like a mythology within the Monster of the Week episode, just so that there is kind of a big bad monster that overlaps
Yeah.
everything else. And then just have like, okay, once this big event happens, the FBI is like, oh shit, well we should probably bring back Mulder and Scully. They're the only ones who know how to deal with this. And then during that, they investigate other cases as well. They get back together, and then they realize like, oh shit, we're actually good at this. And then boom, you got a fun season. You don't have to be groundbreaking. You've done that already. Let it go.
Yep. Personally, I would have loved to have at least some sort of resolution. Like, I wasn't expecting anything huge when the revival was announced, but I was expecting that the events of the original show would be addressed at least, you know?
Yeah.
And they just flat out ignored it. And so going into this episode, my expectations were extremely low. I was like, okay, give me some sort of resolution to the characters and to the mythology, even if it's bullshit. Just give me, like, the end of a book.
Yeah.
For me to be able to close it and be like, okay, it's over. But they didn't even do that.
Yeah, it didn't.
Because that's on the cliffhanger. Scully is pregnant. And that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate them keeping it like at a high pace. It was never like boring as such. Like I at least thought the pacing was all right, and like I said, the direction and all the visuals were fine. There was some nice shots, especially a shot with whatever the fuck happened in that car. But I mean, the writing was just like all over the place. I mean, like once they killed off the Mr. Y, like in just a split second, I was like, oh no. Did they just, like, is this the way that this episode is going to go? They're just going to start killing everyone to give us a fake resolution?
Yeah, it's such a bummer because, look, it's very rare to have a revival where all the original cast members are on board and you have most of the original writers on board. That's almost a 1 in a million chance, and they had that chance. And I think they screwed it up.
Yeah.
Because you had Mulder, you had Scully, you had Skinner. For some odd reason, you had the cigarette-smoking man and Reyes.
Yeah.
Do something. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. These are your characters. You should know how to treat them. You should know how to treat this story because you're the ones who created it to begin with. And I think they didn't. And which is why I'm going to give this episode 0.5 out of 10.
Oh, harsh.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And the 0.5, the only good thing about this episode is that Mulder and Scully still have amazing chemistry.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that even though Skinner's death was stupid, he at least went out a hero, you know?
Yeah.
Because he betrayed our friends in the pilot, which I always thought was so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
That was not the Skinner that grew so close to Mulder and Scully, especially during the time where Mulder got abducted and everything. You know, this is where they almost became a family. He was willing to betray his country and the agency for them, you know?
Yeah.
So I never understood how he would betray them. That really went against his character. So the fact that he was like, no, screw it, I'm protecting my friends, because these are not just his colleagues or his subordinates. At this point, they should be his friends or family, because this is how he treated them in Season 9, Season 8, and I think part of Season 7, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, definitely.
So, these are the only plus points. Everything else, hate to say it, but I hated it.
Yeah, well, I completely understand it. I'm giving it a 1 out of 5. I don't really remember what I gave My Struggle Part 3, but I don't know. I still think this was better than My Struggle Part 3.
Maybe. Again, I mean, water under the bridge at this point.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a 1. I'm so disappointed. Fuck, I just realized what the entire revival should have been about. They get brought back because there is a child who causes some sort of violent, bloody psychic phenomenon, and it's a reoccurring thing. So A, you've got a creepy kid. B, you've got Mulder and Scully coming back for a child, which reignites their whole William thing. Oh my god, we had a child. There you've got a connection to the previous season. There you've got the emotional connection. And then it ends with them having to kill this demon, mutant child thing, and maybe perhaps getting a lead to where their real son is. And there you have it. And then a bunch of fun Monster of the Week stuff in between.
Yeah. Or an explanation how the government actually prevented the invasion that was supposed to take place during 2012. So the government now being aware of everything, and they maybe made another deal with the alien invaders. So throughout the season, we would have one creepy case after another, Mulder and Scully being called back into action, only to realize that this is just the prelude of the actual invasion. So Mulder, Scully, and Skinner are being hunted by their own agency because they're the only ones who know the truth and the only ones willing to do something about it. That would have been cool.
I like that idea too. I think literally anything you and me will come up with like now will be a better actual mythology than what we got.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, let's face it, the mythology of your revival was anti-mythology.
Yeah, I mean, it literally either undid or ignored amazing stuff that previous seasons established.
Yeah, exactly, and it's just, it's frustrating.
I know, but look at the bright side. You got a beer, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is Tipsy Talk after all, so...
Yeah, exactly. I am taking the last swig off of it, though, so... Alright, well, shit, I see we've been going for fucking 40 minutes, so... Let me just go through my notes, if there's anything I missed. A new title card again, Salvator Mundi, which is...
Yeah, what does that mean?
It's either Italian or it's Latin. It means save the world. I can tell that because I speak Spanish and it's similar enough. So yeah, it means save the world in probably Latin because that's pretentious.
Yeah, but at the same time, the world was not saved in the episode, so...
Yeah, we still don't know about this alien thing. I mean, it's like, are they not going to invade because the virus did not spread?
Yeah, but just because something didn't happen doesn't mean that they saved it.
Exactly, yeah. It makes no sense. I mean, yeah, X-Files shut down again. Mulder straight ghosting motherfuckers. Mr. Y pointless. Did you say unleashed? Yeah, probably the worst line in that entire episode. I didn't even have half as many notes as usual on this episode. Good, exciting pace, but no substance beneath it.
Yep. I was just shaking my head throughout the entire episode. I was like, oh God. Look, every time I'm on your show, I want to be as positive as possible. You know? And I seem to be the pessimist here, which I really don't want to come off as. But damn, I mean, it's so disappointing. I'm sorry. I'm the first person, I want to love this. I really wanted to love this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think most of us did. There's a lot of people online who are like, oh, if you're not on board with this, well, then you're not a true X-Files fan. It's like, oh, come on, fucking drop that shit. I mean, it's like, a true X-Files fan doesn't mean being blind to everything that's being released and just blowing it. I mean, it's like...
Yeah, I'm a true Star Wars fan. Still, Attack of the Clones is shit.
Exactly, yeah, I mean... It's probably got the worst line in cinema history.
Yeah, and I even have some issues with The Last Jedi, so...
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. And it's like, that doesn't mean you're less of a fan, it just means you're able to critique what you enjoy.
Yeah, and probably you Look, the fact that we are criticizing the shit out of the prequels so much... is because we care so much about Star Wars.
Exactly.
If this was Twilight, we wouldn't bother, you know?
We got no investment in it.
Yeah, because we know, and we know that we don't care about Twilight. We don't give a shit. But Star Wars means something to us. We grew up with it. The original trilogy still holds up so well that when you look at those prequels and what they could have been, it just makes you sad.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and
I
don't think it diminishes like our enjoyment at all. Like if you want to do some kind of spin-off show like New Agents of the X-Files, where Mulder is maybe like a reoccurring character who's kind of like the old mentor who will come with this old info and callbacks to the old series, like, well, we ran into something similar a couple of years back. I would be okay with that. Like, fresh start, no mythology, just fun monster of the week. All right.
Exactly. But the moment you start to mess with the original mythology is where you start to lose people.
Exactly. It just doesn't make any sense. And, huge misstep by Chris Carter. I don't understand the writing process in it. 1 out of 5 for me, 0.5 out of 10 for you. Do you have anything else to say about the episode?
Thank God it's over. I mean, they didn't save the world, but they saved us from continuing to watch. So,
yeah, it's a little bit bittersweet. I mean, I was at least always looking forward to getting a new episode in hopes of it being the next Trash Man, which we did get eventually with Familiar, but it was just like it was so much waiting for like what was pretty obviously what everybody wanted.
Yes. Couldn't agree more. I mean, it's a bummer, it's a shame, but hell, it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I will be ranking all the seasons soon. It'll be my next ranking video. I think we all know where season 10 is going. But, it might have some surprises for people about the original couple of seasons.
I'm really looking forward to that, especially since I'm going to do a couple ranking videos this year as well.
Oh, yeah? Which ones?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm going to rank the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe again before Infinity War.
I'm planning a video on that, too.
Yeah, I have to do it. I will rank the Star Wars movies. You did that before. Mm-hmm. Including The Last Jedi. Because look, next week I'm probably going to interview, in 2 weeks I'm going to interview the new Harrison Ford for the film.
Interesting.
And then I'm going to rank the Walking Dead seasons.
Okay, cool. Well, we got a lot of interesting stuff coming up on both channels then.
Yes, and we should also collaborate soon because we still have a couple lists that we've talked about in private that we should definitely turn into videos.
Yeah, I've got pretty much an entire script written that hasn't been performed. It's just like I got 2 even. One holiday related and then one that we've been talking about for a while. So we got to get on that. But I got more time to film. I filmed earlier this week. I just did 3 episodes, so just standalone Sci-Fi-Night reviews. And we'll start filming more again next week. So I'm gonna start filming more regularly, and we'll have more time for more videos now that I work from home.
Same. I mean, this week I only have a short week because of Easter.
Oh yeah.
So I have a 4-day weekend, so I'm able to finally shoot again. But if I can, I will now start shooting Pacific Rim Uprising. And to all you Sci-Fi-Night viewers out there, Pacific Rim Uprising is horrible.
Yeah, you heard it here first. It's a shame.
Change my mind, debate me on it, but I'm gonna be the first one to admit it. I loved and adored the first one. Okay, so I'm not a hater. I loved and adored the first one, and I hate the second one with a passion. So there you have it.
Yeah, and you guys got to stay tuned to Joseph Ari's channel for more on that. And obviously, you guys should let us know what you thought of My Struggle Part 4. Maybe you have some different opinions from us. Maybe you have some different opinions on how they should have handled the revival. That would actually be really interesting to hear. Let us know in the comments below. If you're not subscribed to both of these channels, then honestly, you are probably missing out because you're missing out on some great stuff. And as always, Joseph Ari, your couch, it's your couch here. It's nobody can take that spot. And always welcome back.
Thank you so much. You're also always welcome on my channel again. And yes, soon we shall meet again for another video.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully soon IRL as well, because I had this idea of a live action Tipsy Talk kind of thing, but almost studio based, like a drunken talk show thing.
I would love that.
Yeah, and just talking perhaps some controversial movie opinions and not holding back because we are sloshed. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let me know. For that, I would jump on a plane.
All right, sweet. That's all I needed to get you a hook, line, and sinker. So, but yeah. So let us know what you guys thought in the comments below. Thanks for watching / listening, and we will catch you guys next time.
Yeah, goodbye.